Well, it certainly is a battle of the extremes across many areas of the continent. We do have exceptional warmth across the southeast, very cool conditions driving all the way into Iberia. But it's not just solely across Europe, we're seeing it across other parts of the Northern Hemisphere as well. And that's something we're going to look at in a bit more detail in the upcoming live stream this Sunday. So the live stream will be at the slightly later time of 7 p.m. I will leave a link in the description below today's video. A very warm welcome to the Friday edition of Hogan's European Outlook. As explained already, we are talking about some very significant extremes, a battle of the seasons, a battle of extreme cold versus extreme warmth across not just Europe, but like I said already, across many areas of the Northern Hemisphere. Some very standout, anomalous warm areas across far eastern and southeastern Europe into Western Asia. We've got very, very warm conditions also across the plains into the Ohio and Tennessee valleys as well. Some exceptionally warm conditions here. Even down across Australia, we're talking about some exceptional warmth compared to average. And then we're seeing some extreme cold also. Western United States, Western Canada, parts of Mongolia, Western China. We're seeing some cooler conditions across equatorial Africa and also western portions of the continent. We're seeing it across northern and central Argentina into far southern Brazil also. So really quite a contrasting temperature profile anomaly across the planet at the moment. This is Europe then. Obviously, it's not a global weather report. We will stick to that on Sunday. But this is the extremes that we're talking about in terms of the anomaly across the continent this afternoon or through the course of the 24-hour period, which is today. You can see here unusually cool conditions across many areas of Spain, Portugal, France, southern UK as well, and into parts of Scandinavia also. But generally north and south of the Black Sea, we're seeing temperatures as high as 16 to 20 above average across this part of the continent. So real extremes, to say the least. And this is the visible satellite imagery showing the cool driving south, continuing to drive south over the UK and Ireland. We've been seeing snow, even the moderate high level ground. We've been seeing a wintry mix across parts of Spain and Portugal, areas of low pressure, dragging some Greenland origin cold all the way into parts of western Iberia. We've got a lot of cloud across anywhere from eastern Spain through southern France, through the Low Countries, into the central region of Europe. And essentially what we've got is this system is seeing the cold air getting driven south on its backside, and it's dragging some very, very warm air northwards ahead of this system. So we've got very strong south to southwesterly winds blowing out of Africa, where we're seeing temperatures into the mid-30s in southern portions of Tunisia, for example, widespread 30s across Libya and Egypt. That warm air is getting wafted up over the eastern Mediterranean and into Turkey. And with the help of Föhn effect, we've seen a temperature already this afternoon of 30 Celsius around the Juice area of northwestern Turkey. And we've also seen temperatures, even at this hour, we're talking about 34 Celsius in southern portions of Tunisia. So real battle of the air masses. We've got widespread single figures even through the middle portions of this afternoon, anywhere from central Iberia all the way to Poland. We've been seeing temperatures below freezing across much of central and northern Scandinavia. We've got widespread single figure highs across the UK, a little less cold across far western Ireland, but really this is quite the battle in terms of the air masses. So in terms of the month so far, again, we'll look at this in a little bit more detail on Sunday evening, but this is the temperature anomalies for the month of March so far, widely, firmly warmer than average, and that is despite the fact that we've seen the past 7 days look like this in terms of the anomaly. Actually slightly warmer than average, if you notice here across the UK and Ireland, which is interesting. Let's skip back to the past 3 days. Look at that warmth across Central and Eastern Europe. Really stands out. This is the past 3 days, according to the CDAS. And again, draw a line down the middle. Exceptional warmth across the east and below average conditions across the west. Nothing exceptional by any stretch across Western Europe. but it's really the standout is this warmth across the eastern side of the continent. Now, in terms of snow depth, I've been driving up and down the A9 the past few nights. Heavy snowfall, a little bit of accumulation, not really a significant amount, really, given the fact that you're in excess of 300 to 400 meters above sea level. Really, you would expect to see a decent amount of snow on the ground at this time of the year. Maybe not so much at low levels, but certainly over higher ground. There is a distinct lack of snow on the ground. But this is the model indicating here off the Met Office the snow depth by the time we reach later today. You can see here a little bit getting printed out across central and North Wales, over parts of the Cumbrian Fells, the North Pennines, the southern uplands, maybe a little bit of light accumulations here over the highest ground anyway, and then over the central highlands we've got a little bit of snow cover here. In fact, if we can look at the Facebook posts here, it was actually from Highland Weather, showing that it was Lee that took this photograph, I believe. This is, by the way, on top of Cairngorm, and you've got the rime ice covering the fencing here. This is on the slopes of Cairngorm Summit, or Cairngorm Mountain, should I say. So a decent amount of snow up over the higher ground, and then looking down from Loch Morlich up into the mountains, you can see the Cairngorm Plateau having a nice little cover. And Lee actually says that this is probably the most since early January in terms of snow cover over the central Cairngorm Plateau. So it has been a little bit sparse, to say the least, in recent times. But certainly going by the modelling here, it looks as if we are going to see the snow dissipate. If you go by the Met Office model here, this has not been, even though it's been chillier than average, this has not been a particularly snowy pattern. This northeasterly flow has not delivered much in the way of snow. And you can see here as we play all the way through the weekend and into early next week, literally nowhere has snow, with exceptions of pretty much Cairngorm Summit, Ben Macdui, Brayrac, the very highest mountains in the UK. You may have a little snow in the cover on the ground here, but really it's not suggesting anything at all. In terms of temperatures overnight here, we do have higher pressure settling in. Obviously, in the north and south flank of the high, we do have a little bit more in the way of cloud cover and breeze, so therefore the temperatures will be a little less cold. In fact, it's the middle portions of March, and I have still not recorded an official low down to 0 Celsius, which is pretty amazing actually for the first 15 days of the month. Yes, there's been too much in the way of breeze. I think the lowest temperature was 0.3, so I'm still waiting for the first official sub-freezing temperature here at the house this March so far. So that is really quite interesting. But you can see here as we play through the loop, again, we see after sunset temperatures dropping where the skies remain clear. It looks as if the model's printing out a -6 in East Highland, for example. Temperatures widely kind of a degree or two either side of the freezing mark. Maybe a few spots in western Northern Ireland down to -3, maybe -4 Celsius. You can see here as we move through the course of the overnight period, temperatures are starting to drop off much more widely here below the freezing mark. We've got a -5 there just to the south of Glasgow, for example. We've got a -4 up into parts of the northwest of Northern Ireland, for example. We've got the -3 in the northwest of England. Continue to play through. We've even got a -8 across parts of Highland Perthshire, for example, which is interesting. So it'll be interesting to see how cold tonight gets. A little bit less in the way of cold, if you notice here, down across much of eastern England, central and southern areas of the UK. Colder the further north you go, generally from North England northwards, and much of Ireland and Northern Ireland. The modelling is indicating under the clear skies and light winds, temperatures dropping below the freezing mark. Probably the coldest morning widespread tomorrow morning of really of this current cold spell, if you want to call it that. As we move into Saturday into Sunday, we reverse things. We've got a little bit more in the way of breeze across the far north. Temperatures above freezing here, but once you get generally into the central belt southwards, you're talking about with the exceptions of far eastern England, we're generally 0 to slightly below the freezing mark. Northern Ireland and the Republic once again cooling off. We've got a -6 showing up. Is it? No, I don't think it is a -6. I don't think I read that properly. But this is the temperatures by 6Z on Sunday morning. So the coldest temperatures now shifted further south, less cold further north, with increased breeze around the top of that area of high pressure. Looking then at the latest modelling, suggesting what we are looking towards for the upcoming 7-day period. Let's have a look at the ECMWF weeklies. We'll look at the upcoming 7 days, see what it's looking like. And this is how it is. So below average across the UK, Ireland, the core of the cool across northern Spain into south central France, but below average really extending all the way to central Poland, into parts of the Czech Republic, Hungary, etc. Still warmer than average the further east and southeast you go, but that is going to change. We're going to have a tongue of really noteworthy cold getting driven south into parts of Scandinavia. That looks as if that cold air is going to continue to sink south, and you notice here that as we move towards the 4 to 11 and the 5 to 12 day, very, very different story. This is a big shock coming to parts of the Balkan region and Turkey. Temperatures into the mid to high 20s, low 30s in a few spots over the course of today, tomorrow, and through the weekend. By the time we reach the middle and second half of next week, we could be talking about temperatures into the teens below freezing during the night across central areas of Turkey, while we're talking about mid-20s at this moment in time. So these big swings back and forth that you quite often see in recent years, especially across parts of Europe, it looks as if that's going to be the case once we get into the middle and second half of next week. So extreme warmth at the moment across southeastern Europe. We could be talking about another surge of freezing conditions towards a week from now. So we'll certainly keep an eye on that going forward. Finally, let's have a look at the modelling then and see what it's showing. So this is, let's have a look at, in fact, let's have a check of something different. Let's have a look at the icon model and see what it's indicating. So there's that mess anywhere from south and eastern Iberia up into South France, into central areas of Europe. We've got a lot of disturbed weather, cold in the western side, hot in the eastern side. I say hot because it is pretty hot, especially for the time of the year. Got that area of high pressure that's starting to nose into the northern UK. That is what's going to bring the coldest temperatures to northern UK tonight. Clear skies, light winds further north, a little bit more in the way of easterly flow around that area of high pressure, bringing a little bit less cold, but it will feel cold in that easterly breeze. It has to be said. Temperatures in the low single figures. Factor on a 5, 10, 15 mile per hour wind, and it will feel distinctly raw out there. But the actual, on the face of the thermometer, we're going to see the coldest temperatures further north during the course of tonight. Continue to play through. Very messy conditions remain in that boundary between the cold versus hot or warm. Continue to play through. There's that area of high pressure then building in over the UK as well as Ireland, promoting those cold, frosty nights. You can still see this messy conditions here. That high extends all the way into parts of the Baltic region, if you notice here. Continue to play through. You can see that still messy conditions across central and southern areas of Europe here. The icon model continues to see that area of high pressure linger through the course of the weekend. And then as we move into the early portions of next week, we've got another area of low pressure swinging its way in. It's displaced to the south thanks to that blocking high pressure central areas of the continent here. It's displacing that storm track, is forcing it further south. This is the concern over the next several weeks, that we have this south displaced jet due to that stratospheric warming that is going to then divert a lot of the disturbed weather in the southern areas of Europe, enhancing the flood threat. But you notice here as we move, even into Tuesday of next week, according to the icon model, that area of high pressure, yes, centred over Central Europe, but it extends up through the UK as well as Ireland. So we're maintaining this drier than average theme. Let's end with the 850 temperatures off the icon model and see what it's showing, and then we'll finish up there. So you can see here the cold air, warm air getting lifted north over southeastern Europe, out of Africa into Greece, into Turkey. You can see the cold here trapped underneath that area of high pressure. So we are going to see some fairly cold nights under that cold high. That high extends further east. So we've got a bit more of a kind of north-south contrast, if you notice here. According to the model, as we move through the course of the weekend, we're starting to see the colder air run over the top of that milder air. And we're shutting the door to this warmth getting lifted further north over the eastern side of the continent. We're losing some of that chill, if you notice here, as the high builds in over the top. There's that cold air showing up in the icon model, getting driven south over the eastern side of the Scandinavian peninsula here. You can see it driving south into the Baltic region. And eventually what will happen is we're starting to see that south flow as the high then pushes into central areas of Europe. We're going to pick up more of a southerly flow, introducing something less cold into the western side of the continent. All the while, we're going to see colder air getting driven southwards down the eastern side of the continent. So we're almost reversing what we've got at the moment here. We're going to be milder versus colder east as we move into the middle portions of next week. And that cold air is driving south into where it is hottest at the moment. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you're enjoying the content here in the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, leave a like, and I hope to see you at 7 p.m. this upcoming Sunday for the Global Weather Report live. It is edition 133. Lots to speak about, so hope to see you then. Enjoy the rest of your Friday and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.